This is Justin AMZN on Tuesday, November 27th, 2018. Pre-market today, we're just kind of chopping around right near yesterday's high. Pulled back ever so slightly, just the other side of our line at 1578.25. And so as the day opens up, we actually push higher, make a new high, higher than yesterday. And we're coming up to the next line at 1591.04. We actually tag that line and then sell off pretty quickly. Anybody who had bought yesterday in the last few days is profitable. We're at our next set of lines here. So it makes sense that we could just sell off from here, pull back some. We're still holding above yesterday's after hours lows and today's pre-market lows. We'll see if any of that remains in place. We have a really nice hammer candle here, really small body, huge lower wick, and the low here comes into kind of the high from yesterday's first push higher, kind of this first leg of the move up. And nothing really special about this price. It just tagged that price again. Still have not closed below pre-market. The next candle, another hammer, inside hammer. I really like this pair of candles because it's a nice consolidation, a lot of buying pressure, and showing some consolidation that it's getting ready to do something bigger, bigger than just those candles. So from here, you could really set this up to trade. You get trigger in with a move above it and a stop down here below, and that's still pretty wide with the next target right back into this line, and then the next one ultimately here. That'd probably be 1.5 to 2R, depending on what the entry price was and what the stop price was. So we'll look at some options and see what you could do right here and which option will work best for that. The next candle moves up and triggers you into that trade. It's continuing to move on up right through this line, doesn't really pause here. Because of the initial move up with the opening 5-minute candle, it makes sense we could easily come right back up to this line and not have much of any interaction with the line here. We had a slight amount of consolidation here, but it really didn't play out very much at the 1578 level. So consolidating again, a nice inside hammer again, bearish inside hammer, just like this was a bearish inside hammer. And then it breaks out again, moves up, and here we are hitting our target. So hit our target, made a slightly higher high. This is a good resistance right now. And we throw in a upper wick and an inverted hammer. And looks like we could have some more selling again. This is a nice move from this hammer to this inverted hammer. Similar range move, a little bit. We had a little bit longer move here. Let's see if I can measure. You know what? I should be able to draw. Let's do this one. Nope. Come on. There we go. All right, something like that. I just want to move this and see. Okay, yeah, from there to there, that's similar. And then I guess it's off the screen. Oops. I guess this would suggest we could go higher by probably another $8 or so. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. So let me do this. I'm going to put this right here and see if we can get a similar range move from the open, then the bounce to yesterday's to today's. Looks like we're pulling back a little bit, back some more, put in a hammer there as well. And starts to bounce, moves up. Now we're hovering right on 1591. It's just chopping. Look at this. Oh, that was a bit of a breakdown. Looking like it's bouncing again. Actually, with the squeeze here, it looks like it's going to fire bearish, or I'm sorry, it looks like it has fired bearish, and this could signal that it's going to move down. But we've been holding, this bounce here, we're kind of holding this level until that breakdown, and then you really need something strong to push on past this range. Yeah, and here we are. We're not getting that push lower. We're losing that bearish momentum. We're just going sideways, consolidating here. Not much happening. You get a little bit of a breakdown, a little more of a breakdown, bearish engulfing inside candle, all touching this line, and then it starts to bounce again. Like that. Yep. Comes up, and then imagine if it does the same thing right up here, that same kind of consolidation. Yep, it's doing it. So like an hour where every candle, I guess except that one, touched this line, and you're getting very similarly, about 45 minutes where every candle touches that line and then broke down again. Wow, yeah, just a choppy day. Didn't quite get the range with the measured move that we, I'm hitting the wrong button again, sorry. So yeah, like this, we'll put it right here. If I can, there we go. There's that one. That's similar, and then yeah, we're smaller today anywhere in here. I mean, we don't get the same range today as we had yesterday. So much stronger candle yesterday. Today turns out to be a much more indecisive candle. We are right back up at a strong resistance from this open. This open was 1577. It's right near our 1578 price. Now we did actually move above it nicely today. Pausing there somewhat yesterday, moved above a little bit, but really indecisive, really what looks like a small indecision candle. Similar to this one, just slightly lower. Similar to this one. And so after this one, we had a gap down, trade up. After this one, we had a gap down, trade down. We'll see if we have some kind of gap down tomorrow, because the last two candles that have been high wave candles, small candles like this, bullish candles, have done that. And it means a bearish gap and go, if it'll do that. So I really want to see Amazon hold the 1534 price in here that we came into a few times and sold off from over these days, and then we stayed above from yesterday and today. But if we go, plunging into that level and below it tomorrow or the next day, we really could have another swing lower, possibly down into this same low or make a slightly new low. If we're able to stay in this range and kind of consolidate here for a couple days, similar to this kind of a consolidation, then I think that would help get some bullish momentum in. There's some people that would be seeing this as a good level to get in with the potential move higher. And even our last upswing here, we got above the 21 exponential before we put in a small, indecision candle here. We haven't even touched the 21 this time. So I guess that's kind of what has me looking back to, maybe this upswing and then this candle. We're staying below the 21. So definitely room for it to just go sideways. We've got a good thing to watch out for if it pulls back, trading it down to 1534, then looking for a bounce. And then if it continues on up, the next target I would have is right here at the 21 exponential at 1617.54. And then again, looking for a bit of a pause here, even consolidating for a couple hours, and then continuing up a little bit higher as well, taking out some more of these. Well, I guess it already took out this one, but getting up into some of these highs would be a nice place for it to go next. So get into these no man lands and see what happens. So if we take a look over at the 5-minute, now I'm way out at the 1650 call. And here is that hammer, really strong hammer. The problem is the range on this is about $1. And then the very next candle actually puts in a slightly lower low. So if you were just trading this candle, it's possible that it would have, you could have set up like 4 by 3 and possibly been stopped out on this candle. Had you been getting a trade set up during this candle, it's possible that you were filled on the very next candle, and 4 by 3 would have worked no problem. Or getting it set up within the first 10 minutes after this candle, and possibly getting a pullback, 4 by 3, and that would have filled, probably, hopefully, would have filled here at 4, and then getting out at this previous high around 7. So that would have been a 3-hour move with the 1650 call. And then any other attempts to buy at 4, this wouldn't have worked, this wouldn't have worked. It would have been filled here, would have been down slightly, probably would have wanted to move up your stop, possibly getting stopped out. Or had you just held through this, it only made it back up to 550. That'd only be an hour and a half, but it would have been a good target to get back up to this price. So the 1650 call would have been hard to trade with. The 1525 I was also looking at, but had much sparser volume throughout, had a much wider range on the hammer candle here, so more than $1. And then the 1600 would have been the next nice one for volume. The issue, though, is that the range on these hammer candles was 353 here and 290 here. And so it just would have been much harder to trade this with a $100 risk. You really would have had to been much more speculative with this option and getting in on a pullback and hoping that it was going to work. Even had you waited for this kind of pullback here, getting in at, let's see, 17 by 16. I mean, 16 isn't even a level showing any sort of support in here. That the actual number 16, because both of these candles moved through it. So would have been much harder to trade that. The only thing that looked possible was waiting way out here for this candle. This candle is the 1215, 1215 5-minute bar, and 1215 was this candle. So it's just interesting that a high wave candle, bearish engulfing, puts in a similar low here to these two, but stays above the hammer, that would have been your smaller candle here that gives a possible range. But had you set up a trade like, I was going to say 15 by 14, something like 15 by 14. It's questionable if it would have been filled, because the gap here just skipped right over 15, and then the open was 1532. So would you have moved this to like 1550 by 1450, open yourself up to some of the range of this candle? Would have been a really nice trade, but it also looks like this is a triangle breaking down. It's going to retest and then continue lower, and you wouldn't have wanted to be buying here anyway. You're definitely into the range of these hammers on the option because you're losing value on the option, but on the stock, you've actually held those hammer highs. You just got the closest to it here. So would have been harder to trade that way. It's just a consolidation day. Overall, we had some kind of relative highs, slightly higher high here and then a lower high. This got to be much more of a triangle, lower high from here, from that one, lower high, and then a higher low, and then looking like a breakdown that just consolidated and didn't actually break down, and then bouncing. So, waiting, if you had been patient to wait, to have this kind of consolidation play out, break out, and retest here, this would have been 1250. Looking at 1250, that would have been here. Still doesn't give you a great risk to reward because you've moved all the way through this range, and this isn't much of a pullback right here. Out of this movement. So you would have been getting in like 1750 by 1650. I guess that could have worked here. But this is the 1230 candle. 1230 candle was this one. You're still above this line. I want to get below that line with the option. So just kind of a hard day to, it's a Tuesday. So you got a few more days till expiration Friday. We're kind of too close to the 1600 strike to really make that work well. And we're too far from the 1650 strike with the small movement we had today. So kind of a hard day to trade with the option, but it's good to recognize that. It's good to recognize that, the candles that we'd want to see were a little too large at the wrong location. You could go with some odd strikes, like if we looked at maybe the 1610, maybe that would have given us a little bit better value. No, still has a wider range here. Okay, maybe 1620. Oops, 1620 call. But again, I'm just guessing at which one could have worked better. The 1625 we looked at, 1630 maybe. So it's good to come up with kind of your own rules for which option you want to use. These were a little more than $1. Had a nice move back up to the high. Maybe you were getting in like 7 by 5, and that moved up to 12. So you get a few R out of that. That works. But why did you pick 1630? I don't know. I don't know why that someone would go with that option versus 1625 versus 1650. You got to come up with a rule for what you're going to use and then stick with it. And I like sticking with the 16, in this case, 1600, 1625, 1650, those zeros, 25, 50, 75 numbers, because they kind of have a little more volume. So it's just a good, it's a good exercise to go through and compare, okay, through all these moves, and we're just like the calls. The puts are very similar. Through all these moves, what worked out to be the best option at what time of day, and figure that out. And what were the signals setting up for that to really help you stick with this is the right pick, or to say, I don't like any of these options, I'm not going to trade it, because that's also an option. That's also something you can decide to do, just not trade it. Probably after this consolidation here, seeing it break down and then just consolidate, it really looks like a sideways day. I mean, this is, from what Amazon's been doing, this is not a really wide ranging day. If we zoom out, it's a much quieter day than we've had. This day was really, really quiet. Moved a little bit more, but it was right ahead of a holiday. So this was Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah. So, today, we had a decent range initially, but there wasn't anything really strong to be bouncing off of down here other than those two hammer candles. So if it's in your plan to trade hammer candles whenever they show up, we'll do that and make sure you got the right option to do it, and you get out when it's time to get out. And there's a clear place to hit a target and get out. So that could have worked. Totally could have worked. I didn't trade anything today, and it's good just to look back and be like, how would I have really gotten in and out of this? Or would I have been chasing something? Would I have been thinking, oh, I waited long enough, I should get in now? And that's not the right attitude to have. You got to have the attitude of, okay, where is the ideal setup? I'm getting in when it happens. And if I get stepped out, I'm going to get stepped out, and that's okay. And I'll come back the next day or another day soon and, make something work from that. So, so taking a step back and look at this, had you traded today, made something, congratulations, that's great. If you traded today and lost, congratulations, you recognized an opportunity, and it just didn't work for you, and that's all right. After hours today, looks like we're moving right back up into the 1591 price, and really, it's just a question of where are we going to open tomorrow. If we open down around 1570, it's going to look like a bearish gap and go, and it could really pull back into the 1540s or 1530s, and contend with just some of the prices we've seen before. So That's kind of what I'm anticipating happen. And then I don't know if it's going to be able to hold the 1534 price and bounce or not. So we'll have to wait and see. Hope this helped. Hope this helps you do your own analysis and that you enjoyed this video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.